win very badly. And they're coming up to New York, and the Giants just don't seem to have much teeth. So, yeah, it could be very ugly for Daboll. He was on a hot seat to begin with the season, and it's not getting any better.
Now, speaking of the Chiefs, and again, that was kind of a snooze fest against the Eagles, and the Eagles offensively really didn't do much. But hey, a win is a win in the NFL. I don't care. Like, we can talk about the stats, we can talk about the numbers, who made the plays, who didn't make the plays. At the end of the day, all you need to do is make a couple more plays than the opposition, especially if the offense is struggling, if the defense is struggling. Good teams turn into great teams when they do that. We know the Eagles maybe aren't playing like a great team at this moment, only 2 weeks in, but we also know their pedigree. It's a defending Super Bowl champ, and it got a little salty, it got a little chippy. I'm more concerned with the Kansas City Chiefs, to be quite honest. I think the run is over. I really do. I think the run is over. They can't run the football. They don't have any weapons, putting a lot of pressure on Mahomes. Their defense is at times a little suspect. And then you get the nonsense with Travis Kelce. Like, come on, man, catch the friggin' football. It's right in your midst. So at 0-2, do you believe the Chiefs will figure it out? Or do you see the pronounced issues like I do?
Q, the whole time watching that game, I was like, oh, Rich Q, he predicted this in our first show. We were talking, making predictions for the season, and they just do not look right, Q. And it's looking like, yeah, the Chargers could win that division. You have the Raiders at 1-1; they're ahead of them. And Denver's playing some good ball defensively, and they could be 2-0 with their 1-1. So it's a situation where they're in trouble. They're trying to hold on. I think not having Rashee Rice is huge for them. We know they still have 4 more weeks without him. Maybe Xavier Worthy can come out there. They just do not have any playmakers in terms of that offense. Patrick Mahomes, it's like his younger days. He's putting on a Superman cape. I mean, he led them in terms of rushing, 7 carries for 66 yards and a touchdown. But you don't want him taking the hits that he is. And let's face it, that interception, you got to put it on Kelce. He's got to catch that football. And he not only doesn't catch it, he throws it up in the air, and it's in the red zone. And that turned the game because, like you were saying, it was pretty much a boring game. There were 8
Yeah.
punts in this game, Q. So it was a game breaker, and the Eagles took advantage of it, and they enjoyed having Jalen Carter back.
Listen, that's a great point you bring up on Mahomes, right? Because that's not good when he's the leading rusher. He's got 123 yards. Now, you love it from a player prop standpoint, but considering that they now have a design run call for Mahomes, that's never a good thing. And when did we not hear Isaiah Pacheco is going to have that revenge tour, right? I mean, he was this kind of reliable. He's not a reliable every down back. He's just not. And again, man, you just running hard and running with power are not the same thing, right? And then the other, listen, people don't want to talk about this, but your margin of error has basically, I don't want to say it's dissipated. It's starting to erode a little bit, meaning that, they had the talent to win the game, but they don't have the talent enough or the talent to overcome mistakes enough, if that makes sense, right? There, you can't, you can't afford. Kansas City in years past maybe can turn the ball over near the red zone, but they can't do that anymore. They're just not that talented of a team. They're not that good. They had the talent to win it, but they can't overcome the mistakes. Now, defensively, they might figure it out. Again, we'll see, but I still think right now, 0-2. They don't have the same luck that we've seen in years past. Mahomes is wearing the Superman cape. They've got some issues. They've got some injuries. They're dealing with the suspensions. Kelsey's looking older and frustrated. They can't run the football. And I'm telling you, it's one of the main reasons going into the season that I just saw that this team was leaking oil. And I didn't like them coming out of the AFC West. You know that. They're probably going to be a playoff team, maybe a wild card team. They might be one and done, but they need to steady the waters. And if they were to go out and lose to the Giants, and a lot of people, I'm starting to see money on the Giants, and that number at 6.5, it's going to creep up to 7. And if they lose to the Giants, I mean, think about this: 0-3 with the Ravens, tough game. Jacksonville, you never know. Lions, you don't know. What if this team's 1-4, 1-5 out of the gate? You're going to tell me that it's not going to be panic time in Kansas City, or are you just going to basically write this year off and say it happens after the great run that they had?
Now, it'll be a national story, and it'll be the epic collapse of this team. And people will talk about how the Eagles had the blueprint in the Super Bowl, and everybody kind of is piled on it. And everybody's going to have their excuses for them if they get to that point. Even now, the offensive line is patchwork. Taylor has a lot of penalties on that line, and he needs some playmakers to step up. And defensively, they're allowing teams to move the football. The Eagles, they had a ton of success in terms of getting first downs, keeping the clock moving. They could not get a stop the Chiefs when it mattered most. So a lot of mistakes for them, a lot to clean up, and we'll see if they get to 0-3. We know 0-3 is not good because only 6 teams since 1980 have come back from that to make the playoffs.
What did you make of what was they were on what, their 35 on 4th and 1, and the Eagles got to stop? I mean, you're talking 4th-and-1, your own territory, first possession of the second half. Reed calls a run up the middle for Kareem Hunt. I know you're talking about being aggressive, and defensively, I guess maybe he's thinking, well, we held the Eagles to what, 94, 95 net passing yards. So again, we can be aggressive on defense. That's okay, but that's a little too overly aggressive offensively, right? I mean, I think his comments afterwards is we want to dial some things up differently at the end of the day, and obviously there were plays that they could have called. I don't know, man. That's a 10-10 game, and you want to give the momentum to the Eagles.
Yeah, Q, past success has clouded Reed's judgment, and it's a situation where he thinks, okay, we can get it done. We're the Chiefs. And let's not forget, last year they won. They're 11-0 in one-score games, and they always found a way. But this year, it just seems to be different. And you can point to, the offensive line and
Yeah.
just not enough playmakers, et cetera. But they're just not getting it done. And yeah, I thought that was overly aggressive. Not a good time for it. And the Eagles took advantage of it. Not a pretty win by the Eagles, but a win to win in their stack of W's.
Yeah, speaking of stacking dubs,